Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. We'll try it one more time, see if I can get everybody. Good afternoon, everyone. There we go. There we go. I guess technically it's morning. Maybe that's why I didn't get a response the first time. So, hello. Welcome to the lunch and keynote for our 25th Black Issues Conference. We're very excited to have you all here. If you could please take your seats so that we can try and stay on time. At this time, if you are able, please stand for the playing of Lift Every Voice and Sing by our own two-time BGSU graduate, Mike Williams on sax. It's not advancing. My apologies, y'all. It's not advancing. I got to run to the back of the room. Mike Williams on sax, everybody. One more time, please. Thank you. You may be seated. And now, please join me in welcoming to the stage the 12th president of Bowling Green State University, Dr. Rodney K. Rogers.
Anna, thank you very much, and I don't know, another round of applause for Mike. Where is it? Where did he go? All right there. You know, I've had the honor of hearing Mike play over the last years here as a student and now as a graduate of Bowling Green, and he gets better every year, I think, huh? But no, he's always been great. So, Mike, thank you very much. Certainly very good to be with you here at the 25th Annual Black Issues Conference at Bowling Green State University. 25 years this event has been held and will continue to be held. And I certainly want to thank everyone who contributed to the planning on today's event. It is open to obviously all students, faculty, staff, and the community, people coming together. And to everyone in attendance today, I want to make sure I thank you for taking the time to come here, to engage in dialogue and discussion about important issues for our country and certainly for our community. Certainly want to thank our keynote speaker, Mr. Hill Harper, who is also here and will be the keynote speaker. So as you know, today's event is part of Black History Month, which was officially recognized by President Gerald Ford in 1976, and later with Senate Joint Resolution 74, authorized and requested the President to issue a proclamation in observance of this month. And so on February 24th in 1986, just to remind everybody of this history, the President of the United States at that time, in 1986, said in his proclamation, "Black history in the United States has been a proving ground for America's ideals." A great test of these ideals came with the Civil War and the elimination of slavery. Another test came a century later in the struggle for practical recognition of the rights already won in principle. The foremost purpose of Black History Month is to make all Americans aware of this struggle for freedom and equal opportunity. All Americans, to make us aware of the struggle that goes on in this country each and every day for freedom and equal opportunity. Well, the president at the time was Ronald Reagan, and he said those words, right? So we take those words seriously and in this community, of course. And Black history programming that we do is important for this learning community, but also for our state and certainly the nation. And I would argue for the world. And I'd like to make sure that we recognize and thank the many areas of this university who have worked together for today's event. Part of the 25-year legacy to bring forward programming like we have today for our students and our faculty and staff and the broader community, including our division of inclusion and belonging, as well as our lead sponsor, the Clean Hub for Career Design and Connections. Public universities like Bowling Green State University have long been a place to move forward ideas with discussion and dialogue in our classrooms and in our communities that may challenge our own thoughts and beliefs. But that's the idea of universities. And as a nation, we face, declining trust in all sorts of institutions, from our government to higher education, to the medical system, legal system, religious institutions, to the military. However, I point out often, those we don't trust are people we don't know or have perhaps never even met. That is where the power of a public higher education comes in, the power of a place like Bowling Green, which are bringing people together. We cast a wide and broad net of bringing people together from big cities and small towns, from all over the world to be here at this community. And this is where we will meet and discuss important and critically and independently think about ideas to consider from multiple perspectives, how to communicate effectively with others, and how to engage with others that have opinions that may be different than ours perhaps, but how to lead with curiosity and empathy and a willingness to change our mind when appropriate. That's what a public university for the public good should do, and it is certainly our responsibility to continue providing that space. And that's why I'm so appreciative of opportunities in this large group of individuals who've come today at this conference. This conference's theme, reviving, renewing, rebuilding. Reviving, renewing, and rebuilding. And that is exactly what we need to do through dialogue, learning together, workshops and speakers, including Mr. Harper, who is with us today. And so I hope that each of us will leave today inspired to keep learning from one another and never forgetting that phrase that Black history in the United States has been a proving ground for America's ideals. Thank you for being here. And again, I thank every individual that is engaged in this learning community. Thank you.
I'm a little bit shorter than he is. Thank you, President Rogers. At this time, we will begin our lunch service. Please wait for your table to be released by the BGSU catering staff before proceeding to the buffet line. Thank you so much.
It's the best of both meat worlds for $6.99.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you. Thank you. So hello again and welcome. My name is Dr. Katie Steigels, and I serve as the Chief Inclusion Officer here at Bowling Green State University. Welcome again to the 25th Black Issues Conference. We are so excited to have you join us today, and the Division of Inclusion and Belonging and our Center for Student Connections and Opportunity are proud to lead the efforts for this event. Part of BGSU's commitment to powering public good through our people and community, and a key event in our Black History Month programming, the Black Issues Conference is a day for exploration, enrichment, and dialogue on issues impacting our community, specifically highlighting the innovation, intellect, creativity, and perseverance within the Black community. Dr. Monica Peak, the Ellen H. Block Professor for Health Justice of Medicine at the University of Chicago's Pritzker School of Medicine, wrote, "Black history is beautifully moving because it is the story of triumph over adversity, determination in the face of uncertainty, and courage and conviction standing down hate and violence. It may be that constant striving for equity makes Black people all the more committed to the ideals of justice, freedom, and equity for everyone." She went on to write, "Black history is America's history." Dr. Peak calls on us to look to the stories and history of Black people in the U.S. to better inform our understanding of this nation's racial history so that we can, and to quote her, "step progressively into a future of racial reconciliation," end quote. Although she wrote that article in February of 2021, we certainly have many more steps to take. As previously mentioned, this is the 25th Black Issues Conference, and we have had some incredible conferences in the past, from alumni to nationally known artists, from politicians to thought leaders. The BGSU Black Issues Conference has always worked to bring together students, faculty, staff, alumni, and the community to explore issues impacting the African American and Black community at the local, regional, state, and national levels. And this year's conference is no exception. From Toledo Public High School students in the TRIO pre-college programs, and the James A. Huber Teen Center at Rogers. It's all right to make some noise. To participants from Ball State University. Welcome, Ball State. The University of Toledo. Hey, Rockets. And John Carroll University. Welcome. From current students to alumni, from faculty and staff to the community, BGSU's Black Issues Conference continues to have an impact in our community and across our state. This year is the first collaboration between BIC and the Center for Women and Gender Equity to hold the Women of Color Leadership Summit as part of this conference. This annual event brings women of color activist scholars to BGSU to discuss the contributions women of color have made to leadership, activism, and advocacy in their communities and more broadly. This year is also the 100th birthday of the legendary author and activist, James Baldwin, who served as writer-in-residence and as distinguished visiting professor here at BGSU. We are fortunate to have today Dr. John Scott here with us to share his work on and memories of Baldwin and his time here at BGSU. Thank you. We also have a display in room 208 from the University Libraries and the Center for Archival Collections, documenting both the 25 years of BIC and the Baldwin era at BGSU, and we thank them for their contributions to this conference. We are so grateful to the students, alumni, and community members who, as presenters, are sharing their insights and knowledge with us today. Let's give them a round of applause, please. We are also fortunate this year to host a performance put together by Toledo percussionist Andre Wright and Jazz Around the World, featuring world-renowned musicians Delfio Marsalis and Martha Reeves of Martha and the Vandellas. This performance will help us close out the conference, and you won't want to miss it. This year's conference is special, and it could not have been accomplished without the generous sponsorship of the Michael and Sarah Killeen Hub for Career Design and Connections. The Killeen Hub's investment in serving the public good has made the scope of this year's conference possible. Thank you to them and all of our many sponsors for their support. I'd also like to thank the conference co-chairs, Anna Brown and Dr. Bobby Steele, the planning committee, the volunteers, WBGU, Conference and Event Services, catering, and all of the many who make this event possible. And now it is my honor to introduce you to today's keynote speaker. Hill Harper is a humanitarian, an award-winning actor, best-selling author, entrepreneur, and he was the first African-American U.S. Senate candidate from Michigan in nearly 3 decades. Harper starred in ABC's #1 television drama, The Good Doctor, as well as in numerous television and film projects, including CSI NY, He Got Game, and Lackawanna Blues. Harper has served as the national spokesperson for several leading social justice organizations, including the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights Under Law, the Innocence Project, One Fair Wage, and Big Brothers Big Sisters. He also sits on the board of directors for the National Black Bank Fund and was named honorary national co-chair of the redevelopment of Black Wall Street. President Obama appointed Harper to the President's Cancer Panel, where he contributed to shaping cancer policy recommendations to the White House. Additionally, Harper has authored 4 New York Times bestsellers: Letters to a Young Brother, Letters to a Young Sister, Letters to an Incarcerated Brother, The Conversation, and his award-winning book, The Wealth Cure, that addresses ways to solve the racial wealth gap. Letters to a Young Brother was named Best Book for Young Adults by the American Library Association. Harper has been recognized with 7 NAACP Image Awards for his writing and acting. As an extension of his empowerment books, Harper founded the Manifest Your Destiny Foundation and has established the Pierce and Hill Harper Arts Foundation. Harper graduated magna cum laude from Brown University with a Bachelor of Arts degree and was named valedictorian of his department. Harper then graduated with a JD, cum laude, from Harvard Law School, as well as with a master's degree with honors from Harvard Kennedy School of Government. He holds 10 honorary doctoral degrees, including doctorates from Howard University, Providence College, and Dillard University. Harper is a proud life member of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. Just a couple alphas in the room today. As an investor and business owner, Harper owns The Roasting Plant, a successful coffee franchise in downtown Detroit. He is co-founder of A-Frame Brands and is co-owner of the award-winning New Orleans Hotel International House. He sits on the board of directors of Loved One, John Legend's successful skincare brand. Harper owns several commercial and residential rental properties in Detroit, Los Angeles, and Newark, New Jersey. In 2004 and 2014, People magazine named him one of their sexiest men alive. I'm sure he is anxiously awaiting the call for 2025. Hill Harper's unwavering commitment to individual empowerment, entrepreneurship, financial literacy, and social and economic justice has made him a highly sought-after speaker on the global stage. His passion for uplifting others and creating lasting change continues to place him at the forefront of these crucial conversations. Everyone, I present to you Hill Harper.
Hey, everybody. Thank you for that beautiful introduction. I'll tell you, it's great to be here. And over the next few minutes, let's explore how much trouble we can get into. When John Lewis talked about good trouble, I believe there's never been a more important moment than now to try to figure out what that looks like. And actually being at BGSU and seeing a public university for the public good, part of what I want to talk about is what does public good look like? And what is our job in terms of ushering in what that is? Now, I want to use a quote to sort of encapsulate what I want to talk about as we move forward, because I want us to accept this concept. And the simple concept is this: that every decision that each of us in here has made in our life has led us to be in this auditorium in the same place at the same time, right here in the year of 2025. Right? Can we accept this notion or this idea? Like if I change one decision or you change a decision, you decide just not to show up to this luncheon, you're not here. Right? Or you're not at BGSU. You're at Ohio State. You're supposed to boo. You're supposed to boo. I thought that was a boo line. I don't know. I'm not from Ohio, but I figured I would say Ohio State. You'd be like, they suck. So, watch this. If every decision you've made in your life up until now has led all of us to be in the exact same place at the exact same time, if we talk about what's next or the future, the idea is everyone in this room is now connected to what the future will look like and the work that we have to do to create public good. So, this quote, if someone can actually tell me who said it without Googling it, I'll give you a prize. And I offered this prize earlier to the high school students. I said on the one hand, the prize could be a brand new iPhone 16X Pro with Morgan Freeman as the voice of Siri. It's hard to get. On the other hand, it may just be a firm handshake. I don't know which. But here's the quote. The future does not belong to those who are fearful of bold projects and new ideas, but rather the future belongs to those who can blend passion, reason, and courage into a personal commitment to the great ideals and enterprises of American society. Who said that? Morgan Freeman? Did I say if you get it wrong, you owe me a brand new iPhone 16X with Morgan Freeman as the voice of Siri? No, here we go. Let's break this down. I'll tell you who said it later. Let's take the first half. When I went to Harvard Law School, the beautiful thing that they taught me was how to dissect something, how to make a point or an argument through dissection of the actual written word or the case. So in this case, the future does not belong to those who are fearful of bold projects and new ideas. What does that mean? It means the future does not belong to anyone who's afraid of innovation, who's afraid of actually being bold or taking risk. Bold projects, new ideas mean taking on something new, doing something you've never done before, being willing to be exposed. I call it seeking out failure. I seek to fail in extremely spectacular ways on a daily basis. You're probably sitting back saying, this speech is a failure. You're doing a great job. I want to fail. Why? Because I know if I'm failing, I'm pushing up against the risk factors that need to happen to actually create change. If we're not taking risks, we're not creating change. So the future does not belong to those who are fearful of bold projects and new ideas. And then this quote goes on. It says, but rather the future belongs to those who can blend. And then it says 3 words. First word, passion. To me, that simply means energy. Are there any physics professors or majors in here in the house? Is there anybody who's dated a physics major? Oh, yeah, over there. Okay, so I was going to try to use somebody, but I'll just be the resident physics expert then. So let's break down energy real quick, and why is this important? To me, passion means energy, and energy runs through all of physics. Why? Because physics tells us that to move a mass that's in stasis, you need an equal or greater amount of E or energy to do that. So therefore, looking at this wooden podium, if I try to move this podium with my pinky, I'll try to do it on this side too, no matter what side I press, there's not enough E or energy in my pinky to move this podium, right? Because this mass is greater than my pinky. Am I making sense right now? In fact, if I applied more energy, my pinky would probably break before this moves. Does that make sense? But if I take my body, the weight of my whole body now, and I push it, I can move it. Because the E or energy that I applied to this, or the force that I applied, was greater than this mass. So if we look at problems like mass incarceration, if we look at problems like inherent racism, like the wealth gap, like trying to create public good for as many people as possible, those are big problems. So what does that require when we bear solutions to it? Big energy. And no one individual has enough energy to actually move those masses. The only way it happens is through collective energy. So what does that mean? It means people that truly care about public good have to collaborate. They have to work together. You have to combine, and we have to combine our energies to move a mass that is not moving. But remember, the opposite happens as well. And I'll give you a quick example. I was at Harvard Law School, and I would always argue with this one guy who was in our class. We had completely different worldviews about what the future should look like. And it was back at a time, politically and ideologically, where you may argue with somebody, but you could still have conversations with them outside of the thing. So I was talking to him after class one day, and he said, "Oh, man, I got to go." I said, "Where are you going?" He said, "Oh, I'm going into Boston." Now, mind you, Harvard is in Cambridge, and there's a river, then there's Boston, the city. And I said, "Man, we're students. What are you going into Boston for?" He says, "I have a meeting." I said, "A meeting?" He said, "Yeah, we meet once a week to talk about the way we want the world to look." And I said, Who are you? You're a student at Harvard Law School. Who are you meeting with? He said, "Oh, I'm meeting with it's an organization called the Heritage Foundation." Now, if we're going to draw a line of E or energy, the Heritage Foundation and those folks are responsible for Project 2025 and what's in it, which is responsible for a lot of this anti-DEI legislation that's coming down the pipe. And I was just talking about it. I'm not from Ohio, but apparently there's some wonderful legislation that you all have here that's going to get signed into law in April that could eliminate the funding for this luncheon. And folks are just sitting back quiet. Folks are allowing this to happen on their watch. Folks are not actually collaborating a level of energy required to fight back while they're meeting 30 years ago to figure out how to have a Project 2025. What type of future do you want to have, and what does public good look like? And how are you complicit in allowing things to happen that are antithetical to what public good is? Because we can talk about different things. When I went to Brown University, I was a student there, and I met a wonderful professor named Professor Martin Martell. He's not with us anymore. And the reason why I love coming to college campuses is because this is the environment where we really can share ideas and have diverse thoughts and the idea of wanting to learn from a whole group of folks that maybe think differently, that have different life experience. And the idea that somehow diversity becomes a bad word is completely out of whack. And even this idea of what so-called affirmative action, I call it affirmative opportunity, because you got to understand, when I went to Brown, I guess you would say, oh, I was the beneficiary, in quotes, of affirmative action, but I believe Brown University was the beneficiary of my presence. How and why? Let's break that down real quick. So I go to Brown, and I fall in love with learning, and I fall in love with sharing of ideas, and I fall in love with being able to grow, and I end up being I wasn't the valedictorian of my public high school, but I was the valedictorian of Brown University, where I was competing against people who went to Andover and Choate and Deerfield and all these super expensive boarding schools. We have to put people in positions to excel. Put people in positions to have opportunity to grow. And so this idea that having different viewpoints and diverse ideas is somehow antithetical to excellence, it's the reverse. The most excellent places are the places that are the most diverse. I founded a company called A-Frame Brands, where our whole ethos was diversity. So we hired the most diverse group of folks because we felt that we could go to market quicker if we had more ideas being shared. So we launched a brand with Naomi Osaka called Kinlo, which was a sunscreen brand for people with melanated skin. And then we launched a baby brand with Gabrielle Union and Dwayne Reid called Proudly, which was really looking at the African-American and Latino families and them not having products that spoke to certain types of eczema and skin conditions. And then we launched a brand called Loved One, a unisex skincare brand with John Legend. We brought all these to market. And then we launched, just recently, a brand called Perfect Paws, which is in Bath and Body Works for our furry friends. So our whole thing is diversity, even with animals. Why? Because it makes for excellent business. It makes for excellent products and opportunity. All the while, we're allowing people to define terms as if somehow DEI is a negative, when it's really about being more excellent. So, energy and not allowing someone else to out-energy you and us in terms of how terms are defined and what legislation is passed and how things work. So, that's the first word. Second word is reason. I'm going to go quick with reason because it just means having a plan. If you don't have a plan, then you're planning to fail. So we have to actually have a plan of how we're going to apply our energy. Which brings me to the third and final word in the quote, which is my favorite word in the English language. The etymology of the root of that word. The word is courage. If you speak French or you know the root is coeur, which means heart. And so the question I want to ask the BGSU community is, what's in your heart? How are you caring for each other? How are you caring for communities that don't necessarily have voice? I love the fact of what this today held. My friends from high school are back over there. I see a couple of them over there. We got a chance to talk. Wonderful folks from the theater and film and TV community got a chance to talk. My fraternity brothers, we got a chance to talk. This is a wonderful day. And this is a spectacular way to celebrate the sharing of ideas. But it has to be married with courage. It has to be married with your heart. Because if we have these one-off days where we talk about the issues, where we expose the problems, we come together, but then we walk away and we sort of disperse and nothing actually happens, then ultimately it was a waste. Because you get charged up about something, you learn something new, and then you have to apply new solutions to old problems if we're actually going to create public good. I want to say the history I've learned of BGSU, sitting next to Dr. John Scott, understanding what this university has represented for so many. I celebrate you and what you're doing. And to be quite honest, I didn't realize how close you are to Detroit. I mean, listen. When they told me I was going to Bowling Green, Ohio, I was like, dang, where do I fly into? I was like, oh, the people there fly out of DTW? So we are all so closely connected. How are we using those connections to actually create real public good? How are we using the connections to fight back with the level of energy that will actually make a difference? How are we using the connection to push? Because here's what's crazy, y'all. We already know what the right thing to do is. It doesn't take a conference to say it. But too many of us are sitting back, watching, and allowing really wrong things to happen. And we're being quiet about it. We're being somewhat silent about it. And we're complaining about it within our own circles. While other people are really fighting to put their boot on your neck and dig it deeper. And what do I mean? Let me set an example. Oftentimes, we can be our own worst enemy because there are people who say, and I've experienced this many times, we can agree on 9 out of 10 things, we disagree on one, and people say, I can't work with him. But the opposition, they can disagree on 9, find one thing to agree on, and they'll go storm the Capitol together. So, when you think about what you're willing to do and who you're willing to work with and how you want to work, when you think about what level of energy you're willing to bring forth, we have to demand more of each other. We have to demand more of ourselves. We're living in an age of what I call laziness. Everything is lazy. It's almost a fight to see how little work we can do. Oh, ChatGPT 4.0 solves that. Oh, if I subscribe to enough little streamers, I'm good. Oh, if I stay within my own little circle of friends on social media, I'm okay. Oh, if I can pay my bills, that's okay. Oh, there's someone dying in a Detroit van right next to a Ford field, but I'm okay because my heat works. Oh, we haven't solved the homelessness problem or the drug addiction issue, but I'm okay. I'm not an addict. I got a house, I got a car, I got a job, I'm going to BGSU, I'm good. But there's so many people who aren't good, and that says public good. It doesn't just say, I'm good. It's a public university for the I'm good, or is it a public university for the public good? It's public good. There are so many people that are hurting desperately. And we are allowing a very small slice of politicians and billionaire business people to dictate policy that has nothing to do with the public good. It has everything to do with special interest good. And if you don't fall into that special interest group or those groups, you're left out. But most people of privilege, of which I would count most of these people in this room into that camp, you're going to be all right. But does that give you an excuse to sit back and let it and watch it happen? Now watch this. I ran for U.S. Senate off the concept and the idea that I could get folks out to vote that have been historically absent and marginalized. I thought that by going directly to the people, we could get them engaged and get them to vote. It didn't work. And it reminded me of that study, the Seligman study, where Seligman took dogs and took an electric mat and set the electric setting to a certain level, hit a button, the dog was laying there shocked. The first time the dog got shocked, they jumped. Second time the dog got shocked at the same setting, they jumped, but not as high. Eventually, in the Seligman study, you realize, same setting, the dog stopped jumping at all. Why? Because the dog just expected the trauma. And therefore, why fight back? It's coming anyway. So many of our communities where the education system has been completely destroyed, where the healthcare systems have been completely destroyed, where all the infrastructure's gone, where quality housing is non-existent, where quality water, quality food is non-existent, where there are food deserts. These communities have experienced such a degree of trauma that folks literally have stopped jumping, stopped voting, stopped participating. The creation of what Haki Madhubuti many years ago called permanent underclass. We're bearing witness to all of this. And the question I want to ask the BGSU community is, how much of it can you stand? Are you going to continue to know it exists but act like it doesn't? Or are you actually going to do something about it? And I don't care if it's happening in Ohio, Michigan, California, wherever there's suffering, we should be going. Wherever there's trauma, we should be attempting to alleviate it. Every leader from civil rights through today talks about this idea that Dr. King said we are all tied together in a single garment of mutual destiny. That means our destinies are inextricably linked. So for that and with that, anything that you're doing that I can help and support, let me know. We're in an amazing, unprecedented time where there's virtually nobody you can't reach. Right? I'm talking about nobody. You can DM me tomorrow and be like, Hill, I'm doing this. Will you help? The answer is yes. You can DM Elon Musk and ask him a few questions. You can reach anybody. There are no excuses. The only excuse I seem to hear is usually a fear-based excuse, but for me, fear stands for false evidence appearing real. All your fears you've inherited. This is a time to be bold. This is a time to innovate. This is a time to use energy. It's a time to have a plan. And most importantly, it's a time to get into your heart and use your core, your courage. If you do that, we all will win and we will actually experience public good. If you don't do it, we will continue to bear witness to what we're seeing happen today. We're going to see a society that gets more segmented, more unequal. We're going to bear witness to more poor people experiencing mass incarceration and undereducation. We're going to bear witness to oligarchies continuing and the anti-democratic ideal flourishing. If that's the future you want to see, continue doing exactly what you've been doing up until this luncheon. If you want to see a different future, hopefully, as soon as this luncheon's over, you'll change course. You'll start collaborating more with people, even if you disagree with them on certain issues. You'll start finding ways to work harder together, to push harder, to create more collective energy. You'll find ways to speak truth to negativity. You'll find ways to be less fearful, more courageous, more bold, be louder in every meeting. You may even decide to quit your job tomorrow. Seriously. Because you realize the job that you have is not what your life is meant to be. Stop living someone else's life. Start living your own. And start making communities better, not worse. And please, please, please stop acting like you're doing something for the public good while you're just sitting back and watching. And with that, I always like to finish with an affirmation. And why do I like to use affirmations? Because everything that I've talked about today is hard. It's hard. And every day someone's going to try to push back against, particularly if you're pushing. And so I have to use affirmations to keep me going. So will you all say this with me with some vocal energy? Say, I will not. I want a little more vocal energy. Because one thing that we have to realize, everybody, is that there are a lot of bullies in the world. And what bullies tend to do is they walk into rooms and they try to be louder than everybody else. They do it in conference rooms. They do it in meetings. They do it behind presidential podiums. They try to bully people. So we have to learn to be just as loud, if not louder, because vocal energy is a different type of energy. But most of us have become a little too quiet, a little too timid. So say, I will not allow fear to stop me from taking the actions that I already know I should take. Instead, I will act with courage, with my heart, with a plan, and enough energy to make a difference. I will win at my life. I will support my community, and I will encourage others to win as well. BGSU, I love you guys. Thank you for having me. God bless you.
Y'all, please give it up again for Hill Harper. So we're going to let him have a seat because he expended a lot of energy up here. And y'all, this was like church for me. This was amazing. So, so grateful to have you with us. We did have a couple of prepared questions that were asked, and so I would like to go ahead and ask those. And if you want to come up and do it up here, it's like if you wanted to sit. So one of the questions was, what is your advice for someone who is trying to use their platform to make positive difference in the world?
Well, I'll tell you, platforms and use of influence obviously is critical today. You know, I mentioned Elon Musk during the speech, and when Elon Musk bought Twitter, people were thinking of it in terms of a business decision. They were like, oh, he's spending $50 billion to buy a platform. Is it worth that? But what he was really buying was just a platform to be able to influence people and to be able to reach people with information or misinformation, depending on how you define what he puts out. So using platforms and using multiple platforms where you can reach different people, it's very important, very important. And remember that on many of these platforms, there will be people who are targeting you, depending on what you say, with bots. So when I started to notice the bots coming at me, particularly when I was running for office, was how quickly the responses would come to try to elicit. And then you know it's a bot. I mean, literally, I would put something out. There'd be some key trigger words that obviously had been pre-programmed into the platform to sort of attack a point that I was making, and they would come so quick, it's faster than anybody could ever write. So you realize that these are bots that will come. And that's why being on multiple platforms and different platforms is really important, because it allows you to reach different people, and then it also allows you to identify what type of bots are coming at you to try to quell your voice. The other piece is, to me, using quote-unquote older platforms, like just the old school email listservs, right? All of us know people with email lists and listservs and different organizations, different people, even personal friends. You want to get some messaging out, you want to attract people to an event, you want to do things. It doesn't always have to be social media. It could be old school emails and lists and blasts, but you have to collect them So you have to be very intentional of collecting them from friends, people, associates, colleagues, and then blasting that out. And that way you're never dealing with suppression. I started to notice, for instance, on my Instagram, so I have about 555,000 followers, but I started to notice as soon as I started talking about certain issues, the number of people that actually saw my post went down by almost 98%. So it's basically I was shadow banned because I was talking about certain things. And the shadow banning is real. So you want to be able to make sure that you are getting your message out to as many folks as possible because, again, unless we're collaborating, we won't have enough energy to make the difference. And so we need to attract people and collaborate.
I think we have time for one more, and then we have to head out to our other sessions, y'all. In your book, Letters to a Young Brother, you give advice on education, career choices, and dealing with obstacles. What is one piece of advice from your book that you recall that is important for young people today, especially those pursuing creative or unconventional careers?
Okay, I got to go over to the high school group over here because I want to see if what I said earlier there was any retention. Because the answer to that question is what I said in our meeting. So you were there. You were there. You all were there. What did I talk about today? Do you remember what I said?
You said something about
Okay. I'm clear. Clearly I made an impact. What did I talk about today?
You talked about having a blueprint to your future.
Okay. What else did I talk about?
You talked about having a foundation and the framework and having a door at the end of creating your foundation.
Yes, so I talked about this idea of being active architects of our own life. And that there were 4 steps to being active architects of our own life. And we as adults can apply it just like a high school student can apply it. First step is a blueprint or having a plan. So many of us do not even have a blueprint for our own lives. When I ask people, where's your blueprint for your life? They point to their head. But you never hire an architect that kept their blueprint up here. So I believe we're active architects of our own life, yet most of us are doing what I call the pinball theory of life. This is a whole other talk. BGSU has to bring me back some other time. But I'm going to give you the Cliff Notes version. The pinball version of life is when life is actually moving you around rather than you moving life around. And being an active architect for your own life means you're creating the life and building the life you want. Starts with a blueprint or plan. Next step is foundation building. Next step is the framework or the choices. The 4th step is opening doors to new people, new ideas, new information. And it's a circular plan. So therefore, when you get the new people, new ideas, new information, you make a modification to the blueprint. So it becomes this circular way of building a life, building a university, building a community. It's a methodology of building something. And therefore, we're actually making it a system rather than just hoping for a good outcome, hoping that the pinball doesn't sink us, but it goes to the high score. Let's stop with the hope. I actually want to have systems. Forget hope. Let's have systems that work. Let's build systems that have intentionality, that have outcomes, and we actually work it. I don't want to hope anymore. I want to do and create and execute.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Appreciate it. Everyone, one more round of applause, please, for Hill Harper. Thank you so much for your affirming words, for the wisdom, the work to better the community, and talking about how we all need to buy into our public good. Thank you so much. So everyone, at this time, if this is the end of your time with us, please take a moment to scan the QR codes that are landscape on the papers on your tables, and give us some feedback so that we can continue to make this conference better for the future. If this is not the end of your time with us and you are continuing on to your afternoon sessions, please make your way towards your selected rooms. Those sessions will start promptly at 1:30. We thank you all so much for coming and supporting us here at Black Issues Conference, and we hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you so much.